So, good afternoon, Jenine. Jenine Magamis is with me this afternoon. She is the president of INSAF, a group basically, I think, at the University of Ottawa, but maybe, Jenine, you can tell me what INSAF is.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me. So, INSAF is the transliterated word for justice in Arabic. It was founded by a group of 5 second-year students at the University of Ottawa. We are a student-led Palestinian human rights advocacy group here at U Ottawa. Our goals have been to educate not only the campus, our university campus, but to reach out and engage with the greater Ottawa community about the ongoing occupation of Palestine and Palestinian struggles. And more than that, we are part of a solidarity movement. So we are committed to advocating for Palestinian voices in any way that we can.
Okay, that's great. So you say that, did you say how many members? I read somewhere about 20 members. Did you just say that, or did I just read
No,
that somewhere?
that is correct. So we did start out, we were officially a club January of 2022.
Right,
So at that point, there was just 5 of us founding members.
right. Hmm.
And since then, we have slowly grown to about 20 main executive members and many more in our audience and people who follow us.
Okay. Um, what what in one line you mentioned people informing people on campus and informing the broader Canadian public. Is your Do you see yourself as an educational organization? What is your main objective?
So we are specifically political, or we are an organization that talks about the political aspects of Palestine. There are
Mm,
many organizations that touch on the cultural aspects of Palestinian existence, and that's very important. But
right,
we really wanted to uh, be specific in the policy and the occupation and talk
right.
about that and
Okay,
educate.
okay. When you say occupation, that raises a question in my mind about what do you mean by Palestine, and what do you mean by occupation?
So we mean Palestine, meaning Palestinians as a people and Palestine as a land, pre-1948, all of its previous borders, um, and ever since. So advocating for those people mainly.
Okay, I raise that because, as you know, many, particularly white Canadians, I guess, think of the occupation as something that happened starting in 1967, and therefore opposing the occupation of the West Bank and Gaza, but accepting the notion of the creation of the state of Israel. But that's not where you position yourself.
No.
Okay, that's fine. I want to be clear on that. I think that in Canada, the dominant view right now is what I would characterize as a liberal Zionist position, which basically accepts the idea of the creation of the state of Israel in the first place, and opposes the occupation. And that is the position of all our political parties, all the liberal, Democratic Party, and so on, and even the position of most of our church groups, and so on and so forth. What are your specific? How do you undertake that education? What are your activities? What are your
Yes. So when we first began, one of our very first events that we held was on campus. It was very humble. We rebuilt a smaller version, of course, of the apartheid wall
Mhm,
in the middle of our university center,
mhm,
that students were able to come and see. And many were intrigued that there's just this obstruction in the middle of the hallway. And we use that and all of its art that is currently, or replication of the art that is seen on the apartheid wall, um, to explain the whole timeline of the history of Palestine,
mhm.
to get students engaged. So many students came by and they were obviously wondering what this huge thing was. Many didn't even know that Palestine existed, or when we brought up the question, didn't know,
Yeah,
often got it confused with Pakistan even. So we had to explain that and explain the significance of the wall and um, why we believe it shouldn't be up, and just overall the occupation
right.
struggles.
Um, how long did that last, and how do you evaluate it as a success?
So that was only a 1 day event. So we
Hmm.
were up since 6 a.m. that morning to build the wall and there till 12 a.m. taking it down, and trying to reach as students exited their classes and trying to stop them. Of course, before COVID, so people were still on campus and we got a lot of people walking by. So that was great. Of
Hmm.
course, it was effective on a very small scale because we were speaking to individuals.
Sure.
Um, but I believe that that's just as impactful to talk to individuals face to face and really explain and hear their questions. And even if we educated, maybe we spoke to 200 students that day, and then that's a win for us.
Sure. What kind, did you get any negative reaction?
Surprisingly, no, we didn't really get any pushback that day. I know other student groups on other campuses do face a lot of pushback. For us, at that time, we did not.
Hmm.
We just, the most negative I would say is that people were so unaware. In a way, I could take that as both a positive and negative. Negative that I wish people knew more about my country and my heritage and the struggles they face.
Sure.
Well, positive in that we had the opportunity to educate some folks.
Hmm. Hmm. When I go around the campus, any campus, particularly the University of Ottawa, I see many, many more Black and Brown students than ever were the case when I was at university. Does that different mixture, do you think, does that create more of an openness to your dialogue, which is really predicated in a discussion about colonialism and European domination and so on?
Absolutely, especially that day, that event at the University of Ottawa, we have a very large amount of African international students, and we tried to use experiences that different kinds of students would have been more aware of to compare the two. Of course, no situation is exactly the same,
Hmm.
but using South African apartheid as an example to
Uh-huh.
try to make other students understand.
Right. Okay. Do you now you move? I think here we are in April, so you're probably into exams now, and then probably things go in a sag over the summer. What activities do you have planned in the foreseeable future?
Yes, so I actually are getting involved in an event on May 12th, and further details will be put out very shortly. And it's in collaboration with NECBA Commemorative Initiative in Ottawa. So they're a group that each year make an event, an educational event or forum to explain what the NECBA is and how it is significant
Hmm.
to us. And so we'll be involved in that. It's going to be a webinar, and we'll have some very amazing panelists from different organizations talk about their own personal experiences with historic Nakba and the ongoing Nakba, as we say, um, and to share with all Ottawans.
Yeah, sure. Okay. Does your organization have links to other Palestinian Canadian student organizations across the country?
Yes, we are part of C4P, which is Campuses for Palestine. It's a organization that is ever growing, but we are involved with all of the student Palestinian groups
Hmm.
across Ontario, BC, and Quebec with Miguel as well. And we're looking to branch out even more. And we have connections even to organizations,
Hmm.
similar organizations in the United States.
And I'll ask you a last question, which is probably a difficult one, and that is about the future, and particularly about the way Palestinian diaspora interacts with Palestinians more broadly, and um, the challenges in creating a Palestinian national movement with the kind of objectives that you're talking about for your organization, which are not those espoused now by the PA or, for that matter, even Hamas. Are you involved in kind of, or you or that or your organization involved in that conversation about the future for Palestine?
So there is, it's a very good question. There is, and I hope everyone comes to understand this, that there's a difference between the Palestinian liberation movement that is on the ground and its grassroots and the solidarity movement that really encompasses the diaspora. And of course, there's overlapping, but us as an organization, especially as students, we are we advocate for the Palestinians on the ground, of course. So in whatever way that needs to happen. So we primarily do educate. We don't take part of internal politics as much because we are not on the ground and we don't understand those nuances as well. And we just advocate for sovereign liberation from however we can as Palestinian Canadian students.
Well, it sounds like you've got an interesting initiative. I hope, will you still be the president next year? You're still at the university for another couple of years?
I am a fourth year. I will be graduating soon, hopefully to move on to school. So I will be passing the torch this end of the summer into the new semester. I'll still be around to help, but I have the most hope that the organization will continue on in the best way possible.
Well, good luck to you, to INSAF and its activities, and to you personally. Thanks very much, Jenine, for spending a few minutes with us today. I appreciate it.
Thank you.